Hey y'all, welcome back to Let's Talk About It with Courtney. I am your host, Courtney Carroll. I am here in my home office in Washington State, and I'm so excited to be recording. We are on episode 12, and I still can't believe how fast everything kind of goes. I want to thank you all for supporting me on this way. I'm just so delighted I've gotten some good responses from this. But today I'm going to kind of jump in, if that's okay with you. The word trauma has been on my mind this week, and probably yours too. As I said, I think it was last episode, September was pretty hard. And I think I know I was not alone. And I don't know about you and the word trauma and what that means to you. So I thought I would kind of go into it as a therapist / coach and kind of explore it. A lot of people associate trauma with a very big event, whether that's sexual harassment, rape, like PTSD from war, all these other things, or abuse as a child from a parent. So whenever I get a client that comes in and tells me about I don't have trauma. I didn't have anything like this happen to me. Fill in the dots, kind of like I just listed. And I'm listening, and I'm like, there's definitely trauma here. And people don't always associate as verbal abuse as trauma, and that there's multiple versions of PTSD. It is not just war heroes overseas or victims of violence. You can get PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, from a lot of things. And you definitely can have trauma from just being verbally abused by someone. And what I kind of want to go into is, where does that go? You ever heard of the popular book, The Body Keeps Score? I want to go ahead and do a little forward. If you do have a lot of extreme trauma, maybe some of the listed before, I do suggest that you are either having a therapist, seeking a therapist while going through it. It does have some trigger stuff that comes in, and to be cognizant of that. I always say that to anyone I recommend the book to, or if you haven't picked it up, we're like, hey, just so you know, public service announcement, it could trigger. And the word trigger, we could probably go into that too. Something that kind of startles up your system or gives you stress, anxiety again. But your body keeps score. Let's go with that in trauma today. So, as a sex therapist, couples therapist, relationship therapist, individual therapist, I've seen hundreds, if not more, of clients throughout the years where there's a physical symptom of trauma. What does that mean? Okay, a physical symptom. I would like to think about a lot of things when I say that. Pain in sex. A lot of women, it's a little bit more common with women, that when they have pain in sex, that or vaginal pain or ripping, tearing, and then all of a sudden, I never used to have that, but now I do. I'm trying to think of men, erectile dysfunction. They used to be able to have sex regularly, and now here they are, and they have no idea why they lost their erection or why they can't keep it up or what's going on with them. And I'm just going to use those two examples just for today because I think it's a little more common to use, but also probably the easiest for me to address. So we're going to talk about pain in sex and it could be men too. I want to be very clear about that. Pain in sex and erectile dysfunction and stress, anxiety, and trauma. And I'm blowing your mind. And you're like, how are these all connected? There's no way my verbally abusive ex is the reason why I had pain in sex. There's no way, court, that the reason why I can't keep an erection is because every time my ex and I had sex, I would lose my erection, and then now that's why I can't keep one or get it up. It's their language. It's common a lot of the time. Well, did you deal with I want to say trauma, not just trauma, but drama that comes from a lot of that. Because when I've seen these couples or individuals after they either in relationships or they're in the relationship with the perpetrator or being the perpetratee, why I can't do this? And a lot of the time, if it's a couple, the partner goes, Courtney, can't you fix them? Why can't he keep it up? And I'm watching the other partner fall apart. Like embarrassed, red. I'm also new to them most likely. And then it's like, we're talking about my erection already, day one. And same with a woman, like why, like I've seen husbands say, why isn't my wife normal? What's wrong with her? Do you think she likes to have pain in sex? Do you think that's what she envisioned all of her life to have? And same with men. Do you think men love losing their erection? You don't think that's mortifying or embarrassing for them? So what I do when I get in the room is I try to normalize it as soon as I can. One, you're not alone. This happens probably 50 to 60% of the time in relationships that can happen. It is a smaller percentage like worldwide, but like if a couple is seeking out a sex therapist specifically, that's probably the most common thing I've been sought out for. And so my first thing I do is normalize it. You're not alone. You're not alone. If you lose your erection in sex, you're not alone. And it doesn't mean you need extreme medication or anything like this, or like, I didn't think this would happen to me. I'm only in my 30s. Like, what's wrong with me? Is this the rest of my life? And same with women. If you're getting vaginal pain in sex, you're not alone. So many women, like struggle with this. I used to be one included. I used to not be be wet or have any like type of traction. I would need lubricant. And if you need a good lubricant, I really, really recommend sticky stuff. Love it. I will try to remember to put that in a recommendation on the channel. Sticky stuff you can get on Amazon. Love it. Helps with the pH balance, all of that. And I also like to normalize lubricant. Yeah. Yes, I'm talking about lubricant. It is so normal to use. So many people use it. And it makes things better. It does not hurt things. It reminds me actually of a client. I ended up choosing not to work with them. I had this male client telling me that his wife was not attracted to him because she needed lubricant and that she must be getting out around on him. And I just was wild. And I tried for a good hour to like talk him through this and understand, normalize, use research. Nope. And to that female, I wish I could have told her to run. That there's probably a reason why she needed lubricant. That she, like, if I just saw a glimpse of her husband in that for 50 minutes and that's how he talks to her when he's not there, accusing her of cheating just because she needs lubricant, like, that's wild, right? As a therapist, you kind of have to walk in this like fine line, and that was as an associate, so like I was even more new into it. Luckily, I had great education and great supervision from my last practice, Awakenings in Raleigh. If you're familiar with the area, they're fantastic and some of the best education I've ever gotten. But what I would tell that girl is, what's going on in that relationship? Why would your vagina close up and inflict pain? That's what I do. I go to it. And I'm going to practice this out with you because I think I know. So we're going to go into it. If her husband embarrassed her in front of me and I just met him, what does he do to her? How does he talk to her? Probably not well. If you need lubricant and then you're made fun of for it, what's going to happen? Do you think your brain who hears that, your ears that hear this, connect to your vagina? Do you think they're like, oh, he's safe, let's go have sex? Absolutely no, not at all. And eventually it builds up to where it inflicts pain. Yes, your clitoris, your vulva, everything can start closing up, telling you, hey, he's not safe. That is how beautiful your body is. That is how your body keeps score. So maybe you're in a relationship where you're like, why do I have pain in sex? Something's wrong with me. And then your partner reiterates that something's wrong with you. Ask yourself, maybe step back, pause. How is my relationship in general? Let's take sex off the table. Yes, sex therapists, take it off the table. How do you guys communicate? Do you date? Do you have an emotional secured attachment? Does he remind you how beautiful you are? Or does advice and roles reverse? Of course, too. Do you feel loved? Do you feel cherished? Cherished is one of my favorite words. It really is. Do you feel cherished in your relationship? I can't tell you if I've ever met a client that can tell me that they feel cherished in a relationship and have a sexual dysfunction or symptom. I haven't. I really haven't. And it's awful. And sometimes if the only thing I can think of if a woman or male has gone through like a sexual harassment or abuse or been raped or molested, that might meet a person later that goes like, that hasn't healed from that or gone to therapy or worked it out, and now she has a safe, or he has a safe partner. That's the only other like little loophole, and I'm happy to where I go with that. How is your partner supporting that? Does he or she know? Most of the time, I think they do. And sometimes not. Like I can't give you research on top of my head on what that would look like. So I would then, if it was a couple coming to me, he or she was sexually assaulted before the relationship, I would then work with that individual. I would not break up the couple, but I would be like, okay, let's work here, maybe do a couple breakout sessions to go to the assault, and especially if they've never touched it, work through that. And then I would normalize pain and sex after the assault. Her body, his body was violated. Of course, your body's going to have a reaction to that because you learned at some point that you weren't safe. And that is, of course, going to happen. Gosh, it's going to happen. And if that's you, I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but like if that's you, you're not broken. You're healing. You're healing. You've been sexually assaulted and you're finally maybe in a safe relationship, and or even if you're not in a safe relationship and you just know sex isn't the same, or maybe you can't orgasm or you can't get there anymore, nothing is wrong with you. You were violated. And your body is asking you, almost begging you to address it. I believe that with every fiber of my being. I do. Your body will shut itself down to get your attention. And that's where I go. All right, pain and sex, let's go. Where is it? Where did it start? And if it is sexual assault, let's go back there. Let's go through the event. What happened? And this is not just exclusive to women. This happens to men too. And a lot of experiences I've had with clients is then them feeling like they are weird that either they did get an erection if they're a male, or they got wet, or maybe even had an orgasm if they're being raped. Your body's a physical body, or it was lubricated, like for women specifically, you know? There's so much detangling all of those events. And you, again, are not broken. You were violated. And I use this analogy a lot, is when a client comes to me with any such thing, I have to explain that we have to go back, not because I want to re-traumatize my client, but to go back to kind of like, sometimes we just put like a kind of, did you know like liquid Band-Aids, like the gooey stuff? Sometimes I picture like a big cut, and we just threw the glue on and just been like hoped it got better and just pretend it never happened. And I think if you've been ever assaulted or violated or any of that, like that is kind of sometimes what happens. Don't talk about it, especially if it's a relative, a family member, and we just throw the glue on it, pretend it doesn't happen, and then later down the road you either have a physical symptom or a panic attack, mental breakdown, or some type of bodily reaction to it. And it's because we threw the liquid band-aid over it. By no means do I think if it happened to me or any of my clients I know, like, do I think you could jump right into therapy and clear it out the next day? Sometimes you kind of just have to calm your nervous system before you can even talk about it. Nothing's wrong with that either. You were attacked. And that's something just to be mindful of. Try to get help as soon as you can, of course. But when I jump in, I kind of feel like I'm either like a surgeon or a ER doctor, if you will, right? I'm like, we got to get that glue, disgusting crap off of you. We got to get all that gunk off. And that might be a little painful, maybe little scrapes and everything like that. Alcohol wipes, scratch open, like nothing feels great. Then I get the gunk off. And then I go through the event and I kind of picture it like suturing. I'm a huge Grey's Anatomy fan, so don't judge me, doctors out there. And I know I have clients that are doctors. Don't you dare. I think you're the expert, but I'm going to pretend I am for a minute. I'm going to clean out the gunk, clear it out, use alcohol wipes, clean up it all, and then I'm going to stitch it up, suture it up kind of nice. And then we're going to heal it. There will always be a scar. Always. But you can heal. And maybe one day it won't hurt anymore. I've seen a ton of clients conquer pain in sex, be able to not have erectile dysfunction any longer, and be able to move on and have great relationships because they did the work. The men clients I'm thinking of, they'd be so frustrated that, like, how can I not get an erection? Like, I'm not a man. And then sometimes they've had partners to reiterate that, or a friend or someone out there. Or sometimes, like, they did try a different therapist before seeking out a specialist, and that therapist is uncomfortable talking about anything sexual, which is from 60 to 70% of therapists, unfortunately. And if this is you and you're the therapist, please go get training. If you're working with grown-ups, especially couples, you need the training. You need to be able to talk about sex. I think there's something different with countertransference, and that's a big word if you're not used to that, is if you're a therapist that has experienced sexual trauma, and if you haven't done the work, I encourage that too, to do the work, but also maybe that is not what you specialize in, and that's completely understandable. And like, not staying in your lane, but like respecting and like, hey, that culture, until I'm healed and gone through it, can work with that. And if that therapist, it feels like I'm never ever working through that, if I were their therapist, which therapists have therapists, and I have therapist clients, and I have a therapist, so I am their client too. If they had that big of a reaction, I'm going to tell you right now, it's probably not healed. Because as you've learned so far in my podcast, it's been personal, and I've shared a lot about my life. And that's been very intentional. Every hard thing I've gone through, I think, has made me a better therapist. Never did I think divorce would be something I would specialize in or understand the way I do and in the depth I do, but I do. And if I didn't use it and talk about it and by the way, go in intense therapy for years and still am in therapy for it, then I would use this work. But again, if you're not there and you're like, hey, I can't work on that, just go do the work for yourself. I was not ready to immediately jump into work with divorce. And to me, my divorce had a lot of trauma. Being profusely cheated on was traumatic for me. Learning to have sex with and all these things after was one of the biggest challenges of my life. So I want to make it clear, I'm not comparing divorce to rape or sexual assault at all, but I am going to associate the two as trauma. And I had my own issues with sex and everything, not only just within my marriage, but after my marriage and dating and all those things too. But when we think of trauma, they are all correlated. And I used to be so mean to myself. And I've had tons of clients, like I said, especially men in erectile dysfunction, just tear themselves a new one. Like the actual symptom, like of erectile dysfunction is a symptom of something. Instead of saying, hey, what's the root? I'm attacking myself and my brain and making it 10 times worse. What the hell? And you guys, I've done it a million times where I'm like so mean to myself. I'm doing it right now in my current life. I cannot believe I'm in the current situation I'm in. I trusted people and I put myself, but I know without a doubt in my body that whatever I'm going through right now and whatever I have gone through, it will be used with other people. I will help heal people. I will work with people that have been in these situations, and we will figure it out together. We will talk about it. That's why the podcast is Let's Talk About It. Let's talk about all the hard things. Let's talk about trauma and how it has physical symptoms. It wasn't until I truly was trained in sex therapy did I understand how much my body told me before I even knew it. Your body is a magnificent being. It is so cool how it works. And if something's wrong, I assure you, your body, your brain will tell you. And sometimes it manifests as like tight pains, chest pains, and that's why a lot of people confuse like heart attacks, heart issues, and stress with heart attacks, because I do think it starts with the stress. Sometimes I do think heart attacks start from heartbreak, and because we don't address the heartache, we are kind of keeping high cortisol levels, high stress levels, and constant state of fight or flight, that our body reacts to it. And it's crazy how it's all correlated. Having everything connected, instead of thinking about that as like frustrating, your body gets to tell you what's going on. And like, to me, that's where I dive in as a therapist, right? Pain and sex, let's jump in. Where is that? How does it show up? And normalize, like, this happens, and address the root. When did this start? When I think of women in that way, I've had a lot of clients that had great sex and got into a relationship and the partner cheated. And because they chose to work it out, which I want to throw in a fun fact, is almost over 90% of relationships attempt to at least work through infidelity once. And I'll speak to it. I've worked through it with my ex-husband multiple times. And nothing is, then there might be a physical symptom. Thinking of at least 2-3 clients of like, hey, we used to have great sex, and now all of a sudden, like, my drive's down, my libido's down. Courtney, I'm in my early 30s or late 20s. I just don't have the same libido. And that could be like different symptoms. Maybe they need more lubricant and stuff like that. And they're reaching out to me. And sometimes it's the couple that's going through infidelity that come through me. That is a symptom of infidelity. Your body trusted this person, and they broke your trust, cheated. And your brain, vagina, and this could happen with men with pain and sex too, and the lack of libido, reduced libido, goes away because your trust was broken. I know it sounds crazy, but your vagina, your penis, I don't think they forgive easily. And that doesn't mean people can't work through it at all. I'm thinking of Esther Perel, an expert in our field in psychology that works through infidelity. That, of course, it's workable, but you do have to build the trust back. Once I've seen trust rebuilt and established, I have seen libido come back. I will 100% say that's happened to me. When I worked through the trust issues with my ex-husband, it was like our last year of our divorce, and our sex life got immensely better. My libido returned. I did enjoy sex. I was having fun with it. And even after my ex-husband, I didn't have a problem with libido or sex. It had only happened in occurrences after infidelity. And if that's you, again, you're not, like, I'm truly in front of you telling you that it's not something I'm ashamed of. My libido reduced when I had trust issues with my relationship. When we worked on it, did couples counseling, and I worked on myself and been like, hey, chose to stay. I got to forgive. I got to work through these things. My libido went back up. I did need a partner to continue to stay faithful to me, but like, you know, you do what you can do. So if you've ever experienced any of the things I've talked about, and I didn't really understand how I was going to do this today or how I was going to focus more on sex today and trauma, just if you're going through this and you're like, maybe you can't afford a therapist, or maybe you don't have a therapist. And if you don't, I am licensed in North Carolina. I'm licensed in Washington. I'm accepting new clients. I coach. So if you're out of state, we have a whole other business we can work through. Or if this touched you, share it with a local therapist, share it with your therapist. I mean, like, you know, I've been struggling talking about how my libido is reduced, or like I had pain in sex. And now all of a sudden I listened to this girl, Courtney, and I'm not crazy. Like, you can actually have physical symptoms and your sex life isn't going to be immediately better. And I'm not alone. Let's look into that. If something's changed, the chances are you might not be asking yourself, why? Why has this changed? We get so stuck into this like fast-paced generational thing. I'm a millennial. I can't imagine what Gen Z and everything else is doing, but like where we expect it to like fix overnight, or hand me a blue pill, my penis will go back up. And honestly, I've seen it not work a ton of times. If you've been hurt, abused, attacked, or violated, whether it's trust or physically, nothing is wrong with your body telling you something's wrong. To me, the issue is, why are you ignoring it? And when I've seen clients ignore it, it's gotten worse. So if you're out there, this is wild to you, this is new to you, your body does keep score. And this was just a short video. I'm going to try to keep it under 30 minutes to help you address it. We're not done talking about it, for sure. But there are reasons why our bodies do the things they do. I think it's amazing how connected our brain is connected to all the rest of our anatomy. And to me, there's nothing more intimate than sex. Literally, penetrative sex. Like, you're letting someone enter your body, or you're entering someone's body. There needs to be trust. It needs to feel safe. Is your partner kind to you outside of the bedroom? Do you have an emotional connection? Or maybe, if this has nothing to do with your partner, but previous partners, let's go back there. What wasn't healed? What is our body reminding us, like, hey, I want this fixed? And a magic pill's not going to fix you. But addressing the symptom and working through it will. It will get better. I can't tell you an example of how long it takes. Research and studies say so much different. And to be perfectly honest, from my own personal experience as the therapist and as the client, it could take anywhere between 3 months to a year plus. It just depends on how long you were ignoring it. How long has it been going on for? How long, like if you're working with infidelity, how long was the cheating going on? Fun fact is, it takes about half amount of the time an affair happened to recover. So for the 6-month affair, it's going to take probably 3 to 6 months to even work through. And that's if you're readily and available and in therapy and doing the things. your body's not going to all of a sudden think sex is safe. You're not automatically going to get an erection again just because you had one conversation with a therapist. It's kind of like recovering whatever happened. Again, addressing the root cause. What is this physical symptom? Symptom. You're not broken. It's a symptom. What does my body need to heal? And there is help out there. And if I'm not it, I will help you find someone that is if you reach out to me. All right, y'all. I had I don't know the word is, like, it's been an honor sharing some of this information with you. I think it's really going to help. And if you have ever gone through anything traumatic in your life and you're wondering why there's physical symptoms, I hope this helped. I hope this makes sense. And above all else, I hope you don't feel alone. Until next time, guys. See you soon.